Hello, everyone. This is Sabine Minsky, and welcome to the Empowered Empath Entrepreneur. How to monetize your gifts by shifting your business away from cookie cutter models. And today I am delighted to be joined by PJ Dixon. Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm super excited to be here with you because I love you so much. You're amazing. And what a great topic, right? So many people get stuck in, well, I'm being told this is the way I have to do it, and that's the way I'm supposed to do it. And I've read this book, and there's resistance. They're like, this doesn't feel quite right to me. So this is a perfect topic to really liberate people and allow the expression and the evolution of business to be natural instead of forced or cookie cutter.
Fantastic. And you've already started with the energy, but just so that people know a little bit about you, you're a lifelong motivational speaker and you're a life love coach. And you live with a disability and you know how to live life to its fullest. I mean, the list of physical achievements, especially that you have been through, are just amazing to me. You So I really look forward to sharing about all of this with our listeners.
I'm excited to share anything and everything. I don't have any secrets. So if you have questions, dig deep, right? I'm not afraid to share anything. So let's do it.
Okay. So you were just sharing with me actually just before we started this interview how you yourself are going through a shift over the past few weeks in your business and in the way that you see yourself. Could you start by actually diving into that? Where are you headed?
Absolutely. So for probably the past 3 or 4 years, I've been being referred to as the love guru. Now, I didn't come up with that title. My very first business coach came up with that title. And he's like, you're the love guru. And I was like, I love that. It's amazing. And so I donned it, but I didn't like promote it as much as everybody else did. They just started calling me the love guru. Oh, this is PJ. He's the love guru. And I love that because I went to him and I said, hey, look, like I've been a speaker my entire life and I've never really had somebody teach me how to monetize my speaking. So I sort of been like kind of through to do from here. So he's, we talked for like 4 hours, 4.5 hours. It was a really long one-on-one that we had. And at the end, he's like, I've got it. Like, because I was like, I want to do something around love because love is super important. And he was like, I've got it. Can you help women get engaged in 1 year? And I was like, sure, I've done it before, because that's the answer all entrepreneurs give, right? Yes. And then we figure it out later. So I was like, yes, of course. And then, so for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been doing a lot of that, helping women to find and heal the relationships that they're in, find relationships that they want, heal the relationships they're in. I started getting male clients. But what I realized was everybody was struggling with something from the past. And literally, this is no lie, literally 16, today's the 16th, probably 19 or 20 days ago, 18, 19 or 20 days ago, I woke up, right? I literally woke up. And when I woke up in the morning, I woke up feeling like I was on the warpath and I was holding a tomahawk in my hand. And I was like, I'm going to war. And all of a sudden I knew my whole life had changed because I've been struggling a little bit with this whole love thing. Not that I don't love love, because I love love. Like my mission in life is to love deeply and teach others to do the same. But all of a sudden I realized the real problem wasn't love. The real problem was not actually, the real problem was limiting beliefs, the old programming, the beliefs that people have adopted and donned and built their entire life around and on top of these programs, these beliefs that they didn't know about. So my sense was I was going to war. I wasn't going to war against anybody. I wasn't going to war necessarily aggressively. I was going to war because, and the sense of picking up that tomahawk was I was cutting away the limiting beliefs for people. And so now I'm moving very much into this transformation. Literally, I talked to my audience and I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together a 30-day transformational program. Who's in? Boom, 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 boom. People just started signing up. And we're 2 weeks in at this point, and I'm getting the most remarkable results from people. I'm moving faster in my business. I'm moving more clear. I've changed my signature speech. literally, boom, like almost overnight, I wrote my signature speech. And, and I've changed. I've been speaking since I was 7 years old. And I changed my signature speech virtually overnight to be around transformation, because transformation is the way of the universe. Transformation is natural order and way, and it's probably break or struggle or suffer. And so for me, embracing this transformation, the moment I realized that, everybody, when I started this group, I'm almost done, just stay with me for like 2 or 3 more sentences. I started this group with everybody, and in meditation a couple of days ago, I woke up in meditation and I was like, oh, I've been letting them get away with something. They all gave me goals. They didn't in the beginning. They gave me goals, and they certainly don't live out their resolutions, their New Year's resolutions. Why? Because they're trying to push through the transfer, or through into the future what they want, but they're still dragging the past. So the transformation is releasing the past, releasing the emotions from the past, recognizing what emotions actually are, and then opening up to, which then liberates you, and all of the goals and the things that you thought that you wanted in your mind open up, and you expand, and you get profoundly more than you could have ever imagined, because you transformed. When you transform, everything opens up for you. So before, we might have been singly focused on a single goal, but not any longer. And now the transformation happens. We open up, we transform inside, we transform outside, we transform the whole of our being. And it's in the transformation that the gifts are given at the end, or all the way through. So how to transform. The transformation is the key to everything.
Boom. You right there in a nutshell. And I really abide by what you just shared about, we have to do things 360 degrees. It's not that we have to, but we are 360 degrees every single aspect of our life. So even if I work with entrepreneurs, you have to shift around. You have to touch upon every single aspect of your life, because dissonance in one area of your life can only impact the others. It cannot stand on its own, and it will come and bite you in the proverbial butt. So now,
unquestionably, it absolutely will, because we are united. So here's the thing: if we look at the way university is set up, for example, and industry is set up. So the one thing about university and their jobs after is that they separate out psychology from physiology, from neurology, from business sometimes, right? So it becomes all these different segmented things. But what happens is sociology gets separated out from psychology, right? And so what happens is, when we go out into the real world, we get these jobs that are all separated. And that's not what's going on for our own biology, for our own creation, for our own being. We are psychology, we are neurology, we are physiology, we are emotions. We're all in consideration. So as we grow into our business, we want to look at the wholeness of that, right? I suggest that we're entering the collaborative age right now. The collaborative age is that we're not just like collaborating with other business to business, or two coaches are getting together and saying, hey, let's build a program. Or people are saying, gosh, you know what? I need some support right now. I could really use a coach. And so I'm going to start looking to have a coach, because there's a collaboration that goes on there, where the client is maybe working through some stuff, and then they collaborate with the coach, and all of a sudden there's wisdom, there's growth, there's expansion. So we're also collaborating, we're recognizing that our whole being, from physiology, psychology, neurology, brain chemistry, emotions, all of that, one unit, one symbiotic being, including our sense of spirituality. It's all one being. And so the process of actually expanding your business and allowing your business to evolve naturally outside of the cookie cutter mode is allowing yourself to go, hey, we're going to actually reverse this. So if we think about, we've got some of the cookie dough laid out, we've used all the different molds to cut stars and hearts and little gingerbread shapes and all of that. We've got all of those little shapes cut out, right? And then we go, okay, and then we pull back all of the extra dough and we roll it out again and we do more cookie cutter, right? And if what we do is we look at that in reverse, we go, hold on, that's actually not right. It's really the whole, it's the everything. So we rewind the video and we go all the way back to the wholeness of that cookie dough. And we go, all right, now I get to decide what this cookie dough gets shaped into. I don't have to get stuck by the molds that everybody else, or the cookie cutters that everybody else has suggested. I get to feel into my own beingness and say, what is the authenticity of this? What is the art expression of my divine, of my soul? We are literally evolving right now. So things that have never been done before are the things that are being shown to be the most successful, because they're different, they're new, they're ingenious. So don't be afraid to like explore and expand out and try new things. Literally this group that I told you that I'm putting together, or that I put together, really, I woke up, said, oh my God, I'm on the warpath. It's all about transformation. Boom, I'm going to help people cut away the limiting beliefs. And then 2 days later, no lie, 2 days later, I had a group, the first online group that I've ever done. Okay, not the first group I've ever spoken in front of or taught or worked with, but most of my groups are live. This is my first in-person or first online group that I've done. And it's going so profoundly well that I can't wait for June. And I can't wait for July. And I actually see and live weekend retreats and international retreats. I'm literally seeing grow. Why? Because I lived to do boom and I went after it. You don't have that passion that says, boom, that's what I need to do. Probably there's something still in your past that's holding you back. And it's probably, this is the transformation stuff that I talk about. It's probably something that's letting you believe that you're limited. And so you're going this one path that you feel like you're supposed to go, cookie cutter, instead of actually listening to the calling in your soul and following what's actually pulling you forward. So if you can settle, calm, quiet, and listen to the movement inside of you, the movement inside of you will say, I would really love to be doing this. This is what feels good to me. This is how I see myself. This is when I think of myself. This is how I hear myself showing up, or the things I hear myself saying in the world. When you feel that, when you see that, when you hear that, when you know that at the core, that's the direction you go. That's when you break the mold. That's the rewinding the camera and going from the cookie cutter shape back to the wholeness of the cookie dough, so you can shape it in any way that you want. That's the authenticity.
You've actually brought in such a beautiful image of cookie cutter that I myself hadn't even imagined when I came up with this title. And I have this feeling that there are two types of currents. Some people will, just like you described, will be kind of stuck in that one cookie cutter model and afraid to reinvent themselves, afraid to branch out, afraid to re-roll with a pin and start something new with what was already there, because there's a continuity that you cannot escape, right? And which is a blessing. But the other category, the other current, will be those who are constantly remodeling, constantly using a new cookie cutter, and
Yes.
who are lost in that. So what you just shared with us about your own, that shifting moment just 2 or 3 weeks ago, went from one model to a new one, and there's a fluidity to it. But what about those people who are constantly trying out and who are lost in that? What would you like to share with them?
That's a great question. I would say, first, let's settle, okay? Hold on, relax. You're bouncing around from place to place to place, hoping that something is going to work out for you, instead of taking control and allowing it to work out because you're living with authenticity. I would say, let's look at why you're not moving forward. Why are you bouncing from one place to another? I'll bet there's fear in there. I'll bet there's worry. I'll bet there's doubt. I'll bet there's, I don't know how. See, one of the biggest things, I'm going to move around a bit because I'm excited. And when I get excited, I got to move around. Okay, so one of the biggest things, you can see the wheelchair. One of the biggest things that I find is that the biggest struggle for people is the how, right? They don't actually take action because they don't know how. So I'm going to follow a cookie cutter. I'm going to get a business coach, and there's nothing wrong with business coaches. I've had some of the best business coaches in the world, and I absolutely love every single one of them that I've ever been with. And part of me wants to go back to them in so many ways. However, when we don't know how, we rely on somebody else to tell us how. And that's not a problem if we go, okay, cool, that makes sense. Boom, I move in that direction because the core of me says this is still what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it in a way that's going to expand. Okay. So if that's true, but if you're told, hey, do this, or you feel obligated to build the way you're being told, and there's some resistance in you, you're not being authentic. You're not being authentic. And the reason you're not taking action is probably twofold. One, you don't know how. And even before that is you don't know what. You don't know what is causing the resistance. And this is the transformation. Rolling back in our past and our history and finding out what is stopping us, what is keeping us from what it is that we were born to do, what we want to do, and how we're going to dynamically bring that into the world and help the evolution, the growth of humanity, the growth of our universe through authentic action. We don't know how to do that because we don't know how to go back far enough to find out what is actually back there and what is that belief, what is that programming that we have adopted. We didn't adopt the programming. The programming was put into us by mom or dad or aunt or uncle or brother or sister or former boyfriend or girlfriend or former teacher or society or religion. That programming was put into us. And because we lacked a second option, we chose and constructed a belief system. We did this to ourselves. We chose to believe that program, and then we build an entire system around that belief system on the foundation of that program. But when we roll all the way, we go, hold on, this is what I was told, this is what I was led to believe. So I constructed my beliefs around that. But now in this age where I am now, the level of maturity, who I am, the way I see the world, the books I've read, the conversations I've had, is there another program? Is there another way? And if the truth is, yeah, it could be this way, the way I was programmed. But realistically, boom, over here's how I'm actually really seeing the world. Beautiful. Now we get to make that shift and we get to reconstruct because we needed to deconstruct. So we have to deconstruct our old beliefs. Boom, choose a new program and then reconstruct the new beliefs on top of that new program, that new belief system. Then we'll change and expand out and create new expressions for who you are. Now, let me add to that. So people are like, well, how do I do that? I can tell you like a bazillion different ways, but I'm going to tell you a way that's the easiest way for me to convey it via summit like this, okay? Versus you actually working one-on-one with me. So emotions are the ding, you've got mail of our body and our being, okay? So remember AOL had that, you've got mail. I love that dude's voice. It's just so soothing, right? I'm like a straight guy and that guy can talk to me all night. I would love it. So when you hear the, you've got mail, it used to be like, oh, cool. I wonder who sent me an email. I wonder what's in there. I wonder what the data is. I wonder what the information is. I wonder what the letter says. I wonder if there's an attachment. So now when we have emotions, I want us to realize those emotions are literally just a warning. They're literally just a boom, you've got mail. They're literally just a message to your being, to your conscious mind that says, hey, there's actually some stuff in our past that we want to unzip and extract. So, excuse me. Let me see if I can make this more concise. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to make this real concise and then I'll expand out if we need to. The emotions are the warning on your computer that says, bing, you've got mail. And that is usually happening because you're in a state of growth and expansion. You're in a state right now where your consciousness in the present moment wants to grow in a particular direction, but it doesn't know exactly which direction it wants to go because the unconscious mind is holding that hostage. And it's holding that hostage because it knows that you can't go in that direction fully and completely until you release the anchor of your past. So it says, bing, hey, there's a warning or an alarm that says you've got some mail. There's some stuff that we need to unzip. And a zip file is when you send a lot of data to someone via email, and it has to compress all that data so it can go through the email. When it gets through to the other side, it gets unzipped and everything opens up completely. a little bit like that vacuum bag. You throw your old sweaters in for the winter or for the summer, and you suck out all of the oxygen, all of the air. So it's just like shrink wrap. You just shrink wrap your own sweaters, right? It's the same idea. So all of that gets compressed. Now, look at the word compress. When we stuff down our emotions, we compress them. And when all of a sudden they're let out, boom, they expand, right? Now, what do they expand with? The truth is what they're really doing is they're saying alarm, emotion, compression. There's a file in here that we need to unzip and look at. There's data here for you to explore. And so we unzip the file by going back and opening up that event and saying, okay, what's the event? Okay, let me write down the event. Okay, what are the emotions that went with that? Write down all the emotions. Okay, now what are the lessons that I could have learned back then and I have learned throughout my life up to this point associated and relevant to that? This is the data. This is the attachment. This is the information. What are the lessons? What are the learnings? What is the growth that I could have learned then and or I did learn then, and I continue to learn those lessons, those learnings, to glom onto those learnings, and to grow. What is the growth, the lessons, the learnings, and the growth that I've had from that incident? When you write all of the lessons down, when you write down all of the learnings, when you write down all of the growth that you've had associated with that, and then you take the next column and you say, okay, now, how am I integrating that? How have I integrated that into my life right now? Boom, da, 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 write all that down. And how can I still integrate that into my life? And or where would I like to integrate that I haven't? Some of these lessons and learnings and the growth. Cool, write all of that down, column 4, column 5, whatever, however you want. But just check to make sure that you've integrated that, and or where can you continue to integrate all of those pieces, all of those lessons, learnings, and growth. Once you write down the integration, what you'll do is you'll go, wow, those emotions are gone. They've dissipated. Like I don't feel that anymore. Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. That little dude in the wheelchair is brilliant. And then what I want you to do is one more step. Go back and look at that again and see if there's a data file that you forgot. Maybe you downloaded 10 pieces of information. There's an 11th that you missed. Okay. Is there some emotion back there that still has a message for you? Or is there an emotion back there like innocence or kindness that said, hey, don't forget me. I want to come forward into the future with you. And you go, oh, I'm so glad I came back for you. And you pick up that innocence and kindness and say, hey, come into my future with me. And you pull that into the future. And that becomes one of your lessons, learnings, and growth. And then you look at how can you use that integration, or how are you integrating that already? How can you integrate that? How are you integrating that? How would you like to continue to integrate that? And then the emotions that are stopping you from living and expressing your own business the way you want to, and your own life the way you want to, all of that starts to dissipate. Then there's no resistance, or in that one particular area, the resistance has been limited, and all of a sudden there's a freedom of expression. And then there may be the next level is, okay, now how do I actually develop the courage of what if I'm wrong? The what if I'm wrong is saying, I'm in a habit mode, okay? Habitually throughout my life, this is what has happened. A habit is nothing more than a practiced process. A practiced process can be unpracticed. Just practice something else instead. And actually, the only way you're going to go back and feel those emotions and that resistance and that fear is if you actually go back and recreate it, because you've already unzipped the file, so the alarm doesn't need to go off anymore. The emotions are literally just a warning sign or an alarm, or a, hey, you've got mail. That's all they are. They're not going to come back for that particular situation again unless there's still some data that has not been extracted. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. And what you've shared with us is golden. I love the vividness of the images that you've shared with me. That's how I function in my mind too, and I really am certain. I don't even need to hope. I'm certain that that is going to nourish people and light up bulbs. Now, the question that I actually, to bring it into just that little bit, itsy bit more of concreteness that I've been wanting to ask you since the beginning is, would you share with us, before or beyond that moment of boom, I need to shift from, the love guru to I can't remember what term you use, but
I didn't use a term because there's not a term. The transformational king.
Yeah. It's still growing. But I wanted to ask you if you'd be in a space of vulnerability, to share with
Sure.
us what
Yeah.
came up for you in that emotional world
Yeah.
that allowed the shift. It might have been a combination of things, but what was the one that was really, um, a paradigm shift for you?
So the biggest, most profound shift happened for me. Let's go with 2 3 months ago, 2 months ago ish. Okay. When I was talking to a friend of mine, and historically, I have struggled with money. Not that, not that I was never, I made a lot of debt when I was a kid, and I didn't know how to get out of that. And so I'm going to try and make this quick for you. Okay. But also complete. So when I was 9 or 10, I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, Dad, how much money do you make?" And he blew up. "You never ask anybody how much money they make. That is so rude. That is disrespectful. You don't ask people how much money they make. Are you asking your friends' parents how much money they make?" And I was like, "Whoa, dude, like I just was coming into the world and learning about money. I was just trying to figure it out." Because literally when I was a little boy, I thought that my mom and dad went to work because they wanted to go to work. And I thought the way you got a job was whoever paid the most for it got the job. I totally had it backwards in terms of what money was all about. I totally didn't know anything about it. So I went to my pops, who was doing actually pretty well financially. Um, and I sort of knew that, but he didn't really know what that meant. Like I could feel like my dad was growing and getting better financially, but I didn't know quite what that meant. So he blew up and scared me around money. Now, fast forward. Um, Debt all the time, never, always this memory of this one particular restaurant where I wanted to order Chinese restaurant where I wanted to order shrimp with lobster sauce because I loved it, right? And I wound up having my dad ordered. He's like, "No, that's too expensive for you. You won't appreciate it." And he ordered uh, sweet and sour pork for me. I hate sweet and sour pork. I've never liked sweet and sour pork, right? And so that moment, and this is another funny one. I want to tell you this one too. And my mom pouring like juice for us when we were kids in these little tiny juice cups, very delicate, very sweet, a cute little juice cup. And I used to think, my mom and dad are so cheap. When I get to be an adult, I'm going to pour the biggest glass of juice ever. Always. I'm always going to have juice. I'm always going to pour juice, right? And when I get older, I'm going to be able to order anything I want in the Chinese restaurant. And so so all of that. Fast forward, I was, I love my clients. I love the speaking that I do. But as I started with, I didn't know how to monetize my speaking. So I was always grossly undercharging. I was always doing things for free. I was always creating a new program because I felt that that's what I was supposed to do versus like letting the authenticity of who I am come out. So I went through a leadership program recently, and it was fantastic, an emotional intelligence program that Tony Robbins and Oprah and Beyonce and a bunch of other people have been through. So it's really fantastic, and I loved it. And in that process, I also have been utilizing NLP, neuro linguistic programming, with my clients for, I don't know, a couple, 3 years. And so I started to actually do some more formal training with it. And all of a sudden, like, I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, this is where the crux, this is the answer to your question. Okay. So I wanted to give you a foundation. So I talked to my friend and I said, man, I don't know why I can't get where I want to get. Like, I pour into my clients. People love my presentations. People change so much when I work with them. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful, but I can't figure out why I'm stuck. It's like I can see where I'm going. Like, I feel like this is what I said before I said that. I said, I feel like I'm stuck, like I'm staked to the ground, like there's a stake through my foot. And all I can do is go around in a circle to change perspective. So I can go around the circle and to change perspective, but I always come back to the same thought, feeling, perspective. So I always come back to the same spot. And I said, I don't know why that is. It's as if I can see where I want to go, but I can't actually get there. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went on and I said, wait a minute, let me do some of this work on myself. Let me see where I physically feel it. Let me start with that and let that physical sensation carry that information for me. And all of a sudden I saw myself lying on my back with this gray this gray spike. I was trying to mix the word spike and stake. This gray stake or spike through the center of my emotional center, not where my heart is, because I feel my emotions a little bit lower, sort of where the the xiphoid process or the solar plexus is, right where the rib cage comes together. So that whole area of my chest, but that's sort of the center for me. That's the foundation for me. So I saw this big gray spike. I was lying on my back. Big gray spike spiked me straight through that emotional center. Physical spike all the way down into the ground through my entire body. And the top 1/3 of the spike was sort of ethereal. And I was lying on my back, able to look up and see where I wanted to go, but I couldn't get up. I couldn't move to it because I was spiked to the ground. And then I saw these 2 or 3 gray lines that went from the top of the spike, like ropes or cords, that went back to this, that started there, went all the way back to 3, to the age of 3 when my mom married my dad. And he brought fear into my world. I had never witnessed or experienced fear ever in my whole life because it was just my mom and my grandmother periodically, and my grandfather periodically, my aunts periodically, but it was just me and my mom. And it was all about love. And I was like a little lover, you know, a sweet little guy and super innocent. And my mom would just nurture me and hug me and cuddle with me. And then she married this man and he brought terror into my life. I was scared to death of him. And he's no longer alive. He died almost a year ago, not quite 2 years, I don't think. I don't know. I can't even remember when he died, sadly. And I have love for him. And he wasn't, as I grew and he grew, he became less terrifying for me. But I was terrified. So those lines went back to when I was 3 years old. So what I did for myself is I was like, okay, cool. Let me remove the spike steak, right? Let me remove that from me. So over the course of 4 days, I didn't rush it. I didn't force it. I didn't make it happen too quick. Over the course of 4, maybe 5 days, sometimes in my home, sometimes in the car waiting for my friend who was in the store, just I'm going to run real quick and grab something, right? So sometimes various places and in various stages, I remove the spike emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, spiritually, physically, like moving my body to pull that spike out. And then I took that spike and I took it over to an image of my dad. I did sort of the beginning stages of a Hawaiian forgiveness ceremony called Ho'onoponopono. And so I took it to my dad and I wrapped the cord around my dad. He was standing on stage. Okay. I wrapped the cord around my dad and then his hands were out and I laid the spike in his hands. But I didn't wrap the cord. I didn't bind him tightly. I laid the spike in his hands and we didn't speak. I just looked at him, right? And this is all in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, in my spirit, in my mind's eye, okay? And in my imagination. And he shimmied a little bit and the cord fell off and around his feet. He stepped out of it, stepped backwards, lifted it up. And you know how you take a cord and you wrap it through your thumb and under your elbow and back up through your thumb. So he did that with the cord, which I had seen him do because I was in Boy Scouts with him, which I'd seen him do with rope before. So it was almost as if there was a physical memory of some sort, like a tangible memory that I could touch. He looked at me. He took the spike in the wrapped up cord and he walked to the back left corner of the stage and he put the spike in the cord in the trash, kind of brushed his hands a little, turned around and walked back to the front of the stage. And without saying it, he basically conveyed the message. Now I'll wait until you're healed for us to do the rest of the Ho'onoponopono, the forgiveness ceremony. So then I spent the next 3 or 4 days like healing the open wound inside of me, healing the emotional scar, releasing the feelings, moving myself back into a state of wholeness. And as I did that, then when I went to do the forgiveness ceremony, all of that washed away. At that moment, my finances began to turn around. Things started to change, but even then they didn't change as much as they have in the past couple of weeks when I realized that I'm actually transformational king. Like, I don't want that to be, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but like, that is my mission now. I'm on the warpath. That's my tomahawk. That's the direction I'm going. I'm teaching people to transform because it's not setting the goal. It's transforming the resistance. It's releasing, letting go so that everything you've ever wanted can naturally and easily be poured into you and significantly more. Was that what you were asking?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
gave me some shivers there too. You just, put colors and meaning by sharing this vulnerable and deep part of what it is to be a spiritual entrepreneur, or to be an entrepreneur with this willingness to express who we are more and more. And you've just given us a beautiful example of what alignment is. And to wrap up this nourishing interview, to help people in that process, you are inviting them to a discovering true love conversation. Could you please share with us?
Sure, absolutely. So I still currently call it discovering true love conversation, but I know that phrase is going to have to change. It's a 20-minute one-on-one call with me where you sign up for the call and you say, hey, here's what I'm going through and here's what I'd like to release, or here's what I'm struggling with, or here's what I need, or here's what I want, or here's, like, can you help me get through this piece? Because what I found is I could give away free videos, or I could give away meditations that I've created, or I could give away a PDF. But sometimes people go, I just want to talk to a human being. Like, I just want to talk to somebody, and can you help me get through this? Of course. Yeah. Let's figure it out together. We'll collaborate. Remember, we're in the collaborative age now. So let's collaborate together. You bring what's going on. I'll bring my wisdom and knowledge, and where they meet, we'll create release. And when we create release for you, or vision for movement into your future, then all of a sudden there's a freedom of expression for yourself and your business that you've never had. And there will be a trust and a faith that the movement that you're now doing is more within integrity and authenticity than what you might have been doing up to this point. And so when I say that I'm going to change it from discovering true love conversation, remember that came from the love guru, right? So now it's, I don't know, maybe transformational 20. Yeah, maybe I'll call it the transformational 20, right?
In progress, everything in progress and in time. PJ, thank you so much for being on board with me today. It's been inspiring and nourishing and just lovely to talk with you.
Thanks. I love you so much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation. And beautiful people out there, even though I haven't met you, I have mad love for you. So trust your heart, trust the deepest part of your soul, trust the calling, the quiet whisper when no one else is around that says, I really wish I could do this. That's your real truth. Follow that, because that's the cutting edge of evolution. Everything else before you is a shell that's holding you back, or a cord or a line or a chain attached to that anchor that's dug deep into the ground, that's not allowing you to make forward progress. All of that is false and untrue. The truth is that quiet whisper inside that says, I just want to be able to do this. This is who I am. This is why I came.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, beautiful people. Mwah.